Hey guys, Ariel over here at Nyth. It's a little bit of a more pleasant day. It's still a little chilly. If you're in the sun long enough, you warm up enough to take off a jacket, and then the breeze kicks up and a cloud comes over the sun and it kind of cools off again. So anyway, I'm just working on some spring projects around my place here. One of which is straightening out my wood pile here. You can kind of see it just tipped over the other day, I guess, when the frost was going out of the ground and the ice was leaving. It got unstable and tipped over. I'm sure somebody's going to tell me how to more properly stack my wood, but this pile had been here for 2.5 years without going anywhere. And then it just toppled over. Or maybe there was a critter out here at night, something chasing around. The little chipmunks like to dart in and out of the wood pile. They love it there. So maybe something was chasing one of them and that's what knocked it over. I'm not sure, but I'm trying to figure out the easiest way to straighten it up without having to unstack and restack the pulling fire thing. How that goes. Might not get away with that. And this is the firewood for my big fire pit, which is kind of behind the camera there. Not for the wood stove inside. These chunks would never fit in there. But it's the season when you can have bonfires outside now. It is springy enough around here now that I don't think I'm probably going to be lighting up the wood stove hardly at all anymore. I've got a little bit of firewood left, not a whole lot. I definitely used more firewood this winter than I have in the past. I believe mostly due to being actually home a lot more, because I don't have a regularly scheduled job away from home at this point, and so I was able to keep the wood stove going a little more, so I did use more firewood, but less propane. So when I'm gone, like the winter before I was working a lot of 16-hour shifts at the restaurant, and when you're gone like that, you can't keep the little wood stove full, and so the backup propane heater would have to kick on. So I'm totally all right with that. I prefer to use the wood heat, but I did use, I've gone through almost 2 cords of wood. Got just a little bit left in here in my pallet tarp bin. My roof held up all winter on that this time, partly because I rebuilt it from when it collapsed the year before, and partly because we didn't have nearly as much snow, and so probably, the way I had it before would have probably lasted through most years, but the record snowfall for the state of Wyoming did do it in, and so I had to rebuild it. Anyway, you guys might see a chipmunk or two dart in and out of here. They're in this wood pile all the time. They're so fun to watch. They flit around and flick their tails, and for the most part, they're not very. Must not think I'm scary because they don't seem to move very quick when I get close to them. So I thought they might still be over here. I guess moving the wood around is a little too much for them. Thanks everybody for all your well wishes with the situation with Grizzly. I definitely miss having her around, but let's talk to them. She was content at the trainer's place, and so hopefully she will be happy in a different life. I'm just sad that she's not here. So that's how life goes sometimes. This little gap between my wood stove bin back here. A bunch of this just toppled over. I like to have something of a space there so the wood can all ventilate well and not get soggy. This is the time of year when the weather finally gets nice and there is lots and lots of projects to do. Having to restack your wood pile is not one I was planning on, but I've been busy helping with dragging hay fields, the place where I live. If you have ever been around hay farming in the West, that's taken a big, basically like a big claw metal thing on the back of a tractor and just dragging it over the grass kind of loosens up the dead grass from the year before and helps the new grass push through. So it's nothing complicated. Somebody just has to be on a tractor seat for quite a few hours to cover all the fields. And I've been working at, I'll show you a couple of the other projects around here. There we go, got that tidied up again. That pile will probably last me for another summer's worth of bonfires and cookouts with friends and such. And then when we go through this stack, which is all just dead trees that came down not too far from my house, I've got this second stack back behind here. Or that's not split yet. This was a green tree that blew down, so it needed time to cure, but I've had that stacked there for a couple years as well, so those should be good now. You can see my empty ash cans and stuff that I normally keep right by the door in the winter. And here's the amount of wood stove wood I have left, a little pile there, but most of my building here is empty. At this point, like I said, I probably am not going to be lighting up the wood stove much at all, except for a few, the chillier evenings. I'll burn a round or two of logs just to take the chill off in the evening and then let it burn out. Now that it's not snowing like it was last time, look at all my little rhubarb leaves. I got these plants as cuttings from a friend a few years ago, and this is the most leaves I've ever seen coming up at once, so I think they're going to be good this year. And I planted horseradish last year, which you can barely see down through there. Those you can see better. They're just sticking up. And then next year I have some asparagus, but I haven't seen it make an appearance yet, so hopefully it survived the winter. And then my strawberries are all sticking through. Now they're not covered in snowflakes. That's the perennial end of my garden. The rest of it is totally empty at the moment. I do have some berry bushes over here. You can hear the creek ripping down there. If you can see it through the fence. It was higher a few days ago, and then we got some really cold nights with hard freezes, and it slowed down that runoff a little bit, but it's still high and muddy. And we'll probably be going back up again before it's done. But over here I just draped this netting over them in the winter to keep the moose and such from eating the plants completely off. But if I get under there, you can see all the new little leaves coming out. That's a currant bush, and I've got a elderberry bush and a honeyberry bush. It's a little bit like a blueberry, and they all have little new buds coming out on them, which is good. As soon as I can get some pansies, I am going to plant some in these beds around the houses because they can take frost. But my chives are doing really well, and this one clump over here was so big I actually split him into 5 new ones, plus ate some of the broken stems with soup I had for dinner last night. But just, took off clumps and cut right down through the root and replanted clumps all along there. So hopefully those will expand and give me even more chives, because I like the taste and the flavor and things, and they're just a really pretty flower if I have more than I can eat. Now I'm curious, actually, this is my little It's actually a cooking thermometer, if you can read the numbers there in the sun. I haven't done this yet, but I'm curious if I put it in there to see what the soil temperature is for whatever that goes in, about 5 inches. It's not a real soil thermometer, I know. It's dropping. It's down to 50. I don't know if it's still going down or not. You need your dirt to be warm enough for seeds to germinate if you're going to plant them. And I'm thinking, I'm going to just test another bed here, that I am going to, in a day or so, be able to actually plant at least some of the things like chard and kale and so on. But I did want to see what the actual soil temperature was first. It's going down there as well. Well, the ground's almost 50. That ought to work for some of those things. So, you might shortly see me planting some stuff. The only thing I've got right now is just a couple weeds. Not many, but I got to go through here and pull a few little guys like that before they get their roots established and take off. I don't actually have any snow piles left right here in my clearing. The last one over there in the shade went away a day or two ago, right at the bottom of the hill where my lane comes in. There's still a good sized pile there in one spot where the snow had been plowed for the winter. But other than that, it's pretty close to snow free. And like I said, it keeps getting warmer and cooler here in the sun. What I'm doing right now is I've been going through the whole yard and raking up just anything loose on top. I probably wouldn't have to do this, but there's a lot of little twigs that either blow down over the winter or the branch tips, the squirrels chew them off trying to get to the few pine cones in the treetops. And I just like to keep my yard tidy around the house. Not that it's an official yard. Even when it starts to look green, more than half the green is just the wild brush that used to be here. If I just keep it mowed off, it looks like a lawn, but it's not really that much grass in it. But I try, and there's a lot of pine needles blow down too, and you know, if the soil gets too acidic, just letting that all rot into the soil makes good duff in a pine forest. But if you've ever been in a pine forest where it's mostly pine trees, you see that not a lot of underbrush grows because that acidity isn't what most plants like. So I just kind of go around the yard. Oh, and the other thing I've got is a few little bits of charcoal, like that from the fireplace ashes. You guys probably saw in the other video where I, scattered them on the snow when it's still a couple feet thick to help speed up its melting because I was impatient for spring. So I just like to tidy this up. It works a little bit like I was telling you guys with dragging the hay fields. It kind of just loosens everything up that's been packed under that snow for many, many months. It helps the new green shoots come through. So I just go around and rake whatever all is loose into little piles here. Mostly pine needles. A few other things. And then I've been just spreading that stuff actually on the one little path that goes through my woods so it can slowly decompose there. But in the meantime, it kind of keeps the other stuff from growing for a little bit so that I can walk down the path without having to weed whack it all summer long. That's the plan anyway. And those little bits of charcoal are great for the plants and everything. I just like to run around barefoot if I can when it's nice weather. And your feet will get, if you're going to run around barefoot, your feet are going to be brown anyway, but trying to have too much charcoal pieces to run over. That's kind of the plan there. Usually when I finish up a spot like that, there's a couple of rocks that I've raked loose because this whole ground is actually super rocky. So I try to pick them up and toss them off into the woods edge. So I've gotten everything done toward that side of the house, and I'm just finishing up this little bit toward the fruit trees and around the garden edge. And I've been working over here in my little unofficial flower bed. It kind of just goes around my 3 little baby aspen trees that are really the only aspens in my yard, since there is lots of aspens in the area in general, but right around my little clearing I have almost all pines. So I try to encourage them to be healthy and grow. And so I've planted some flowers around the base of them here too to be pretty. I kind of have a rule about not being allowed to spend money on flowers for things like this, but when I've got friends that I work for or help or whatever that have gardens, some things need divided over time, and when they're getting rid of things, I will almost always take them. So I've got some various columbines and irises and lamb's ear and daffodils and monarda and bluebells and so on coming up in here. And I never really made this a real flower bed, like dug up and started with nice soil. I just kind of started planting stuff in between the brush that was already here. Oh, and there's creeping Jenny over here too as a ground cover. So every now and then, you know, everything's trying to come back through from its old roots, so I go around the edge and just kind of dig up the little brush in the grass as much as I can to kind of get myself a flower bed edge. To keep the place looking neat and tidy if I can. And I've got that oil can in the middle there. It's kind of bent up and half smashed, but I thought it was pretty cool. I found it in the woods here from, I don't know, a long time ago. It was buried under a lot of layers of leaves and stuff. And I think old things like that are neat, so it's the centerpiece in my flower bed now. And I still want to go through here as well and breaking off the dead stems from last year. I know a lot of people like to cut all that stuff and trim it up in the fall. I always feel kind of bad for the plants when you go chopping their heads off when they're still trying to grow before they've frozen yet. Just makes me feel a little sorry for them. So I generally just wait till the next spring. Also works out well because I'm usually antsy in the spring to do things before it's really warm enough to be able to plant anything, so it gives me something to do. Clean up the older stalks of whatever died off the fall before, and dig out these little bits of grass that are growing in there. I've got some snow and summer in there too, and a little bit of yarrow. As soon as it gets just a little warmer, I've been kind of watching the yard and hardly seen any of them popping up yet, but so as soon as I start seeing some dandelions, I am going to be harvesting them to eat. You got a thistle there. I do try to keep them from reproducing, just because they have a tendency to completely take over areas. So that's another one of my spring projects I'm working on a lovely sunny afternoon. Oh, I've got some poppies too. There's little baby ones coming through. I planted some last year. I wasn't sure if they would survive. I don't remember which color that is there. I think it's a pretty ruffly cream one, but I'll have to find out once it grows up and blooms what it'll actually have. I like plants and flowers. I try to put most of my time and effort into growing useful things like food, but I enjoy flowers that are just pretty too, for me to look at and for all the birds and the bees. And oh, I'll have to show you guys, I just saw a butterfly flitting around here. Not that there's really any flowers for him yet, so I don't quite know what they're feeding on when they show up this early, but he was flitting around some of the branch tips. Pretty little orange guy of some kind. I don't actually know what variety he is, but I enjoy watching all that kind of thing. And I saw a look up the bird name. Some kind of a little tit, I think. It's real tiny little birds, a little bit like a wren, but almost even smaller. And I know I've seen them here before. They're so adorable because they've got these big round black eyes and they're so small. You know, the rest of their body, that their eyes almost look as big as the rest of their whole little fluffy self. But this one looked like it was grabbing bits of moss off the branch tip, so I'm hoping it was going to leave a nest somewhere right around here. That should be cool. I always like hearing it this time of year, and then it almost gets annoying because the daylight comes so early in the summer. The sun rises at like 4 in the morning, 4:30, something like that. I guess not quite that early, but it's getting light by then, and so the birds just go crazy singing. And if you don't want to get up at 4 a.m., which would be me most of the time, that can be almost annoying in the summer, but I like hearing all their little cheerful songs. So I like them to have flowers and stuff around here too. Enjoy. We got a couple of wild rose bushes. There's one over at that end as well. Maybe just here, so I've left them grow. They get kind of a small pink single petal rose, and then really beautiful rose hips in the fall, which I do harvest and make tea and stuff from. Thanks for watching, folks. If you're interested in more info on my off-grid tiny house life, check out some of my other videos here. And if you like what you're seeing, click the little picture of my house to subscribe and then hit the little bell so YouTube actually notifies you every time there's a new video available. See y'all next time.